Another question from Kel. She asks, how did I get involved in women's football and what do I love about it? So for me, my first experience in coaching women's football was at Radcliffe Olympic, a local club in Nottinghamshire. I started out coaching there with the under-16s and carried with them right the way through the under-16 season and 2 years of the under-18s age group as well. And from there, that really sort of sparked my interest in the women's game. There were a fantastic bunch of girls, parents and sort of coaches as well that supported. So I had a really, really great time, 3 years there at Radcliffe. And then I got the opportunity to move over to Forest and take their under-18s, and that was a fantastic experience as well. So that sort of cemented my love of the game. I think the Olympics as well was a really, really massive turning point. I think a lot of people attribute the rise of the women's game to the World Cup, but certainly I think it started before that with the Olympics in 2012, and seeing that women's team compete was brilliant and really spiked the national interest. And I just started watching it more and more and following it more and more. That was it really. And then getting the opportunity to come over to Notts and start afresh with a new team and build it up from the ground upwards for the senior section again was a wonderful opportunity. So that's sort of my journey in women's football really. What do I love about it? There are tons of things that I really, really like about the women's game. I really enjoy the interactions with the players and the way it differs a little bit. Female footballers tend to like to know the whys a lot more, so they've got a lot more interesting questions in my experience around what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that leads to some really, really good conversations. The support's fantastic, and being part of the growth recently and that sort of explosion of interest across the nation and the infrastructure and support networks and systems sort of being put in place to grow the game at the minute, and the initiatives from the FA and different bodies is really fantastic. So being a part of that journey and being a part of that development is brilliant and a really, really good opportunity. Question 9 from Jo, and she asked, how far has the women's game come since I started coaching? A really, really long way is the answer to that. The women's game's grown massively over the last few years. It's a lot more on people's minds, and female players are becoming more household names now compared to when I first started coaching, which is fantastic for the sport. It also means that there's a lot more visible role models for young girls and young women playing the game, which is so important. So that's a fantastic thing that's happened. Participation's growing. I think the majority of players that play in our team certainly have sort of grown up playing in boys teams. Some of them have moved to girls only teams later on in their age brackets, but a lot of them have played in boys teams, whereas now the opportunities are there for girls to go and get involved and join girls teams. Certainly the work the club are doing here at Notts and the committee and the hard work they're doing to continue to grow the game at a junior level here at Notts County and give the opportunities they're given, which are sort of second to none, is brilliant. So I think the infrastructure and opportunities for girls to play football has grown massively since I started coaching. There's a long way for it to go still. Still so far to reach, and many things to aspire to in the women's game and things that can be improved massively. But we're all moving in the right direction now, and there's obvious things happening and things being done and put in place to help that happen. So hopefully if we sort of come back and ask that question again in another sort of 7 or 8 years, then we'll see a huge amount of growth again, and the women's game just continue to go from strength to strength. Question 10 comes from our very own Sean Denham, and he asks, what or who first inspired you to start playing football? And also he asks Henderson or Milner. For me, my dad really is the biggest influence from a football perspective. He was the one that first started taking me down to watch Notts. I was really lucky in the sense my first football match was at Wembley Stadium when we played in the playoff final against Brighton and got promoted to Division 1, or what's now the Premier League. So I think I sort of hit the peak of not success, definitely. So certainly that was a massive influence, and going and watching Notts every week and just being a really sort of massive football fan and big supporter of Notts has been a big influence on me. You know, sort of playing with friends and teams over the years, and just really enjoying playing continued to inspire me to play, and then obviously wanting to carry that on into coaching as I got older. I think this next one's a no-brainer. I think anybody who doesn't see this perhaps doesn't necessarily see the attributes that this man brings to the team. For me, it's Henderson, massively underrated player, fantastic midfield player, commands his position really well, and is great at utilising space, making space, and linking the play through defence through to the forwards. So yeah, definitely Henderson for me. I know that's going to be unpopular with a few people. Question 11 from Elle, and Elle asks, what do you like most about football? That's a really fantastic question, also a really difficult one to answer. There are so many things I love about football. I think number one for me is just the sort of passion and the adrenaline, really. Playing, but certainly coaching as well, that sort of feeling you get on a match day, and when your team score or they come from behind or get a last minute winner. There's not many things that can replicate that sort of surge and that buzz that you get from that. Other than that, I think just in general, it's the best game in the world. It's a universal language. People across the entire world play the game, and we can sort of all share that common love of football, and it helps to break down people's sort of differences and brings people together, really. So yeah, it's just a fantastic game, and we're really lucky to be able to be involved in whatever way we can. Question 12 from Michael, and he says he's really enjoyed watching the highlights that have been made available on our YouTube channel, and is there any prospects for that to continue and any more filming to be done next season? So yes, in short, definitely. We're looking at getting more video footage involved next season, and looking to get more analysis and things done, so that will in turn mean the games will be filmed on a more regular basis. So where we can and where possible, after those sort of clips have been used for analysis and for the coaches and the players to go over, we'll be looking where we can to make some of those highlights available for people to watch. Yeah, definitely. Another question from Michael. He asked if we have any idea of what the leagues will look like next season and the makeup of the East Midlands divisions. No, not really at the moment. There was a lot of talk about how those divisions would look next year for next season, and whether it would be going to 3 divisions or how it would be working. So with everything that's gone on with obviously coronavirus and the stopping of play, the stoppage of promotions and relegations, we're not really sure at this moment in time if that impacts the structure of the leagues. I'm sure we'll be told in due course, and as soon as we know, obviously the fans will be let know as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and seeing what happens, but at this moment in time, no, we don't really have any answers on that. The final question comes from Chloe, and she asks, what would your advice be to people during this time in quarantine? So really just to stay safe. I think it's really important that everybody follows the government guidelines, make sure that you're staying at home to protect the NHS and to save lives, and to make the job on the front line for NHS workers as easy as possible. We all know that they're going through a really difficult time at the moment, and the work they're doing is absolutely incredible. So from everybody at Notts County, women and girls, I'd like to say a massive thank you to the frontline staff at the NHS, and also to all the key workers that are continuing to work and make sure everything's ticking over during this lockdown period. So yeah, I think in terms of tips, maybe keep active if you can. So make sure you get in that exercise once a day, and trying to get that walk for fresh air, and also just to talk to people and to reach out. It's really important for your mental health to make sure you keep social. So whether that's a Skype call or a phone call or a WhatsApp video call or whatever it is. It's really important to keep in touch with people and just to stay social and keep talking. So that would be my advice, really. So yeah, I hope everybody stays safe, and we're really, really excited to see you all again on the other side of this. So keep well and come on, you pies. Thank you so much for sending all your questions. I've had a really, really good time answering them. Look after each other, stay safe, keep well, and we will see you all soon. Thanks.